Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about a use case where we want to extract all the external users from our SharePoint site whom we have granted access in past but would like to weekly or monthly review those accesses. For example, you added some guest users and for some contribution on a page, but later on you wish to remove the access for those external users, but you forget. So these security measures you want to take, like if no guest users should be given access to your site, then you should remove them. So that's where we are going to automate this stuff with the Power Automate, where we are going to iterate through the sites which you have access, and then we are going to find out the external users which you have provided access, and you can send out the weekly or monthly email to the site owners or to yourself that you have to review this site. There are so many external users which are added and you can take necessary action. So based on your requirement, you can modify the workflow, but the intent is to extract the external users, guest users from your SharePoint site and send them an email. So over here, I have one of this root site, which is a communication site, and I'll be just going to site permission, going to the advanced permission settings, and I'll show you like this site has external user added to it. If I go to members, you would find that couple of other external users or guest users to this site has been added, and to allow this sharing with the external users, you have to have this external sharing enabled into your environment. So if I open this communication site from tenant admin and added this site, I would be having this settings where you can specify about sharing of the file. So more sharing settings, so new and guest users can be added to this site, and they can use the verification code to sign in. So this setting has to be enabled so that you can share the external users, or you can share your site with the external users. And once I click on new, I can add any Gmail account or some different organizations guest account, guest users to my content so that they can contribute. As I said, we may forget in future removing these guest users which are not anymore required, which could be a security concern going forward. So just to have that one monthly reminder in place, it's a good thing. So that reminder we are going to build with Power Automate. So I'll just open my Power Automate and we will start getting the sites which you have access to. So if you are site collection or tenant admin, then you would be having multiple sites where like you want to go through and review the external users, or you are just site owner of few couple of the sites, then you can definitely like just iterate through or your 10-12 sites and get the users. So we'll start with my flows. We are going to create an instant cloud flow, or we can say schedule cloud flow, because this could be a reminder email. So I'll just say that reminder of external or guest user access, and this one you can repeat weekly, and you can define like on Mondays, or you can skip the days on which day you want. So and I'll just skip the weekends and we'll create it. So you can design, you can keep working on a new designer, or if you're more comfortable with the old designer, then you can very well switch to the old designer. So in between stage we'll be switching to the old designer because I found some issue with the filter array action into new designer, which we'll be just setting up with the old designer. So rather than like going and talking about that issue, so in between I'll just switch to the old designer. So I will just start adding an action, and as I said, like we need to iterate to the site. So first action would be, we would be just making a send HTTP SharePoint call so that we can get the site collections, the list of site collections. So I'll search for that action, send HTTP request, and over here we will be choosing that to SharePoint, request to SharePoint, and this would be a get call. So I'll just keep that as get, and I'll copy the end point from my notepad so that we can directly paste. So over here you can see like I have this API search query which can search on the content class as STS site. That means it will give me all the sites where I have access to. And trim duplicates, you can just say take true so that you should not get a duplicate site, though like you will not get it. And row limit, you can specify the row limit. I'll just paste it that to URI. And to start with site connection, so you can just pick any of the site, because it is anyway going to append that to the search query and will search across the site. So just to make connection, we are just specifying the site address. And over here in the advanced parameter, you can just say headers. In headers, we'll just use this except and as application JSON content. So I'll just copy that string from here, application JSON o data verbose. So this would be our first call to get the sites. So I'll just save it and I'll just quickly run this one so that we can see like what sites we are getting. So we'll just click on test and it will do a manual test for us. So if I scroll down to the output body, you would see like I am getting this output body. I can just copy this entire JSON. I'll put into the Visual Studio Code so that we can take a better look of it. You can just do a new file, select a data type, select a language. I'll just say JSON and paste it so that we can better look at this big JSON which we are getting. So over here we get the object as D and then primary result, and under that we have this custom results and relevant results. So relevant result we are actually like interested in, and under that relevant result we have this results, which is again an object array. And over here we have this key value pair, and in this key value pair we have one key, that is site name, which gives us the site name, which gives us the value as site URL. So we are interested in this site URL. So just remember, we are going to construct the object from the body so that we can parse this using compose action, just so that we can just get the data or the result which we are interested in. So I'll go back to our Power Automate and I'll add one compose action just to get the body output from our previous tab. So input would be from our dynamic content from our previous tab, that is body. And once we get this compose, then we are going to iterate through the data, the result which I just showed you, like what results we are interested in. So we'll be constructing an object so that we can get to that detail. And add an action, apply to each. And in this apply to each, we are going to iterate, we are going to pass this dynamic value, and this value we are going to construct from our compose action. So I am going to write or copy this from our notepad which I have already created. So you can see like we have this compose action. Out of that D object we are going to extract query, primary result, relevant result, table, rows, and then results. So if I again go back to our Visual Studio JSON, then you see like inside this relevant results I have this result, and inside that I have this table, rows, and inside this result we are going to get that site name property which we are interested in. So I'll just use this same one. I'll copy this and we'll pass this to our apply to each, and we'll add this. So this apply to each would contain the data, and now I will save it, because after that like we are going to create a filter array, and filter array in new designer doesn't work properly. So that's why I have to switch to the classic designer. I'll just save it and switch back to the classic designer, and over here we'll be using filter array, the array which we are getting from this step and this data operation, and we are going to do that data operation on expression. I'll just copy that expression. So over here you can see I'll be iterating through or apply to each cell's results, and I'll do a dynamic condition over here if the value of that key, item key, is equal to site name. How to write that? I'll just tell you. So I'll just say over here item key, and this should be equal to this site name. So only this site name key, because there are many key value pair and I would not be interested in having those key value pairs, so I want to filter my array just to have that site name. So I'll just search for that. So I wish to just have this object instead of like everything. So this will give me the trimmed result for this object rather than having this long. So right now only this is for 7-8 sites. So this JSON would be like extremely big if you do this as a site admin or the tenant admin. Then it's number of the site collection you are going to get. So just to trim down, just to have this required property, we are doing this. So just to follow my steps, whatever I'm doing. So once we have this trimmed down, then we are going to just extract or read out those values from this item property. So site name key is there, then we want to extract the value of that. So I'll just add one condition, and this condition would be to have this key expression. So I'll just say this, the body of my filter array, like this output of this one, I wish to just get the first value of my filter array, the output of this filter array, which is like, let's say 7-8 lines, and wish to just get the value out of it. So first body of filter array and then value of this key. So condition I'll put that it should not be equal to null, so it should have value, because the other keys may have like blank value. So the blank values we are not interested in, we are just interested in to have the proper value of my site name. And this we are going to append to one of the variables. So I'll initialize one variable, array variable, to contain my site collection. So I'll just say initialize variable, so that we can just create this site collection variable, that is array, and we are going to just append to this site collection variable whatever name we are getting from this conditional step. So right now we are in process of just getting the site collections which we are interested in. So I'll just say append to variable or array, and over here we are going to write to this site collection, and the value is the same value which we actually created in this expression. So I'll just enter that expression over here. And lastly, like once this loop is completed, we just want to read or see like whatever the site collection we are getting. So I'll just simply add one dummy this compose action, so that we can just pass on our variable site collection to it, so that we can see what site collection as an output we are getting. And just to make it fast, we will set the apply to each concurrency from settings, so that it can run on concurrency, and we can just maximize this concurrency level to 50, so that the processing would be fast, because number of sites would be there, then it would be quite slow. So let's just test it. And if I just open our apply to each loop, so it says that 8 collection and filter array. In filter we are going to get this from only the filtered array where like key value is the site name. So output of this filtered array would be just site name. So if you over here you see, and in this condition actually resulted into false, which is because that we set a wrong condition. It should be not equal to null instead of equal to null. So we'll just modify that condition, and then we are expecting a proper list of collections for our flow. So thus not equal to null. Or blank, you can keep that blank as well. So we'll run it, and this time we should get the proper site collection values which will conclude our step 1 of getting the site collection. So this time if I go to compose action, and this time I got all my site collection where I have access to. So this step number 1 is done. Now moving to the step number 2 of using this site collection variable and then making call to SharePoint again, and this time we are going to make a call to the endpoint, that is site users. So this endpoint, so this will give me all the site users for my site, and we are going to do a comparison or conditional check for if its site user is a external user or not. So let's start with iterating through our site collection variable. So I'll use apply to each, and we are going to pass input as our site collection variable, and inside it we are going to make a call to send HTTP request to SharePoint. So all these site collection will make a call to SharePoint, and over here I'll just select the URL from the item which we are iterating through. So we'll just say enter custom value, and this value we are going to just read from the current item, and this is again a get call, and the endpoint we are going to copy. Endpoint is API web site users, and in header we'll just pass accept, and again this application JSON data compose. So now we'll make a call to our SharePoint to get the site users. So in the body we are going to get all the users, and we just want to look at the output. So I'll just use again one compose, and in this we are just going to get the output of our previous action, that is output body, and we are going to test it. And this send HTTP should be the current item of our this apply to each 2, and I'll just run it so that we can make us 6 different calls or whatever number of sites in the collection we are getting. So it will make that number of calls, and we will again like do this apply to each into concurrent so that it should be fast, should make parallel calls, otherwise it will be a bit slow. So over here in compose, if I open that, I get this JSON again, and if you look at this JSON, so this is the results, and over here we get the other properties for that site, and what we are interested in is having the users. And if I just copy everything and again go back to our notepad, I'll create a new file, select that as JSON again, just to look at the JSON in a better formatted view. So over here if I just search with the login name, you will get all users login name, and so this one you see like this login name is my this domain name, which is my this Azure AD domain, and I keep on like checking for the login names, and there could be a case where my login name would be having external users. So for example, if I go to the next sequence of it, where I have this site which is my this communication, the root communication site which I showed you initially. So that site should have my external users. So the JSON I would copy for this communication site should have the external users. If I just copy this, paste it, and now if I just search for the login name, you would see like in the login name somewhere for the external users we would have this append as external with literal. So this one #ext is the keyword like which will distinguish our normal Azure AD users than external users. So this conditional check we are going to make while reading the output of our this previous step. So I'll just go back to our flow, and over here I'll just edit it, and we'll just do the filter again because we want to just get the filter array like where we have this login name containing external users. So I'll just say filter array, and this time we are going to use this expression from our previous compose, and this expression would be output of compose the results. So this will give us array, and the condition we want to make a filter on, we will specify that what condition filter we want to make on. So as I said, like we want to make the condition on login name containing hash ext. So I'm just saying item login name and it contains hash ext hash, then that's a external users. So after this filter, we are just going to read the output of this filter, and we can just put one apply to each, or we can initialize one array before this so that we can just capture the all the external users. So I'll just say variable external users and let's say array, and I am going to use this one after our filtering to add the filtered array. So I'll say apply to each, will iterate to the filtered array, and this one is the output of my filter array. So this would nothing be but body of my filter array which we are doing over here. So this condition would be body filter array. So I'll just say, and we'll just use append to variable, and we'll this time append to our external user variable. Over here the value we are going to append is the login name. So I'll just set this as the login name which we are doing for the apply to each 3 and login name. So this, because we are inside this our loop 3, and that gives us a login name, so we are going to just extract this one. So this would conclude all the external users. So over here the step is, if you wish to just send the emails or reminders for a particular site, then you can just put email, and in that email you can specify your current site URL and the list of this one, the users. So this will send out the email for individual sites, and if you want to just use or collect entire table together and just send out one email, then you can very well do that, like just to have one more collection, and after that, like once it's collected, you can create a HTML table and send it. I'll just give the reference of sending HTML table YouTube video like in references where you can do it, but for the sake of demo I'll just use this send email to the user. I'm just picking my as admin user, and we'll just say report for external user site name, and this one we are going to just put the site name which is we are iterating through in our this tab, apply to each tab. So this will give us the current item of apply to each. So I'll just scroll down just to find the current item of apply to each. So this will give us the name of the site, and over here you can just say external users, and over here you see like in dynamic content I am not getting my variable. I just can add one more compose, and just to collect my this external user variable. So in this compose you will see like I would able to get the external user list, and this output of this compose 4 we are going to just send an email. So nothing complex there, it's just like too many steps, but all rest is good only. So I'll just use the output of compose 4, and this way we are going to do. So I'll just save it. Now we are totally ready to send out the reminder email for external users for the specific sites, and I'll just say test manually, run flow, and wait for it. So it's now in our second loop, and we can again set the concurrency of this. And over here if you see like apply to each, if I go to the second apply to each, so it's doing this operation of finding the site users, doing a filter on the login name as with the ext, and over here with the external user for this site I got this one. So one external user which is being added, and finally in the compose I have all the collection of users, so only one user I found, and it sent out that email to the administrator or the site owner that report for this external user, and this external user contains this body. To be checked over here is like you want to send the individual emails or you want to collect everything into table and then send that email at once. So this way you can do this automated job of sending reminder email to your owners that external users are added to this site. They have to take the appropriate or necessary actions, whether you want to keep them or remove them. So you can build this out without writing any PowerShell, just doing some few operations. So though like number of steps are more, but still it's a worth to try this because I got this use case into my current organization where we need to build a reminder for site owners if the external users are shared with that site so that they can take the action. So that is it for today, and if you have any questions in this flow, then please do drop your comment. I'll try to answer, and please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.